Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing a Cyberdark deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because I've changed this deck up a little bit from last time to be a little bit more pure towards the Cyberdark monsters. This deck can consistently summon out your Cyberdark End Dragon on the very first turn, which is really amazing. And speaking of summoning out Cyberdark End Dragon, definitely check out the chest hands that are going to be coming up on the channel soon, because we're actually going to be giving away 3 copies of the Cyber Strike structure deck to one lucky winner in that video. So definitely be on the lookout for the test stand video for this deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting assigned cards to the mail, and even getting your requested deck profile every single month to your patron along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Cyberdark Chimera. This card is insane. I love this card. Ever since I saw this card get announced, I have loved this card. And this card is really good because it lets you search Power Bond by discarding a spell or trap from your hand. But it also has a really neat effect that when you do discard that card and add that Power Bond from your deck to your hand, you can only use Dragon or Machine Cyber monsters for a fusion summon this turn. And also once, when you fusion summon this turn, you can banish monsters from the graveyard as material, which is a great effect for this deck because it basically turns your Power Bond into a overload fusion, which is insane. It also has the ability that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to send a Cyberdark monster from your deck to the graveyard with a different name from cards that are in the graveyard currently, which is really good because you're trying to get 5 Cyberdarks in the graveyard, on the field, or in your hand, so you can summon your Cyber Darkness Dragon, so you can in turn go into your copy of Cyberdark End Dragon, which is a really great card to go into. We then play 3 copies of Cyberdark Cannon. This card is a neat card because if this card is sent to the graveyard while it's equipped to a monster, you can draw a card, but it also has 2 unique effects. That you can discard this card to add a Machine Cyberdark monster from your deck to your hand, and or you during the damage step, if a monster equipped with this card battles, then you can send a monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is a great effect just to send another monster from our deck to the grave. We then play 3 copies of Cyberdark Claw. Cyberdark Claw is one of the best cards to see in your opening hand, because if this card is sent to the graveyard while equipped to a monster, you can target a Cyberdark monster in the grave and add it back to your hand. And you can discard this card to add any Cyberdark spell or trap from your deck to your hand, which you play a lot of Cyberdark spells in this deck. It also has the ability that during damage calculation, if a monster equipped with this card battle, then you can send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, which is a pretty good effect because you have a lot of cards that you want in the graveyard that are in the extra deck. We then play a single copy of Cyberdark Horn, Cyberdark Edge, and a single copy of Cyberdark Keel. These cards are all very unique and very similar at the same time because they all share the ability, if this card is normal summon, you can target a level 3 or lower dragon monster in the graveyard and equip them to this card. And they gain attack equal to the original attack of the monster equipped to them, and then they have unique effects, where Cyberdark Horn will actually let you do piercing damage, Cyberdark Edge will let you attack directly, but your opponent will only take half damage. And the effect of Cyberdark Keel is if it destroys a monster by battle, then your opponent takes 300 points of damage. The other effect of this card is if this card would be destroyed by battle, destroy the monster equipped to this card instead, which all 3 of them share that unique ability, which is pretty cool. We then play 3 copies of Cyber Dragon Core. Cyber Dragon Core is one of the best normal summons in the entire deck. Actually, it is the best normal summon in the entire deck, because when this card is normal summon, you get to add any cyber spell from your deck to your hand, which is a great effect because we play a lot of really good cyber spells in this deck. So this card is super insane in Cyberdark because you can just normal summon it and grab any of the spell cards that you need. We then play a single copy of Cyber Dragon Nashter. This card is a neat card because it actually helps out Cyberdarks because your Cyberdark Chimera has 2100 defense. And this card's name becomes Cyber Dragon while in the field or in the grave, and you can discard a monster from your hand, special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is normal or special summon, you get to target a machine monster with 2100 attack or 2100 defense in your graveyard and special summon it. But you can't special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except for machine monsters, which is not not that big of a deal because you're probably going to be linking this way into a copy of Cyber Dragon Sigurd in the extra deck. We then play a single copy of Cyber Dragon Hertz. This card is really good to send to the graveyard because if this card is sent to the grave, you get to add a Cyber Dragon from your deck to your hand. So this is a great target for your copies of your Cybernetic Horizon. We then play a single copy of Cyber Dragon Descent to add off the copy of our Cyber Dragon Hertz. It's a really good card as a one of in the deck, but I don't think you need any more than one. You can play it at two if you want to go with a little bit closer to what my previous build was, where I was playing a mix between both of the monsters, where you're kind of going for more of a cyber style deck. But playing this card as a one of in the deck for this particular build is great because you're trying to summon out your copy of your Cyberdark End on the very first turn every single game. We then play a single copy of Dragon Buster Destruction Sword. This card is so good in this deck because it makes it if it's equipped to a monster, your opponent can't special summon from the extra deck. And it's super easy to send this card from the deck to the graveyard with a Link monster that we're playing in this deck that we'll get into in a little bit later. We then play 3 copies of Psyframe Gear Gamma and a single copy of Driver. These are here to protect your plays because a lot of times in this deck you're going to be activating a spell or trap on the very first turn, and when you activate those cards they are vulnerable to hand traps. So playing your copies of Gamma will give you added protection while also letting you rip a card out of your opponent's hand by synchro summoning into a copy of Omega, which is really good for this deck to be able to do because then your opponent starts with 4 cards instead of 6 cards when they start their turn if we're going first. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Foolish Burial. This card gets the exact card that we need in the graveyard when we need it. 1 copy of Cyber Eternal. Cyber Eternal is really good in this deck as well, because this card actually lets us target a Machine Cyber Fusion monster in the graveyard and return it to the extra deck or special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. Now, something very important about this card is you have to properly summon the monster first, which is a little bit weird because it does say ignore their summoning conditions, but you do have to summon them correctly. Where cards will say that this card can only be summoned by this condition, you can ignore that condition, but they still have to be summoned properly. You can't just send a card from the extra deck to the graveyard and then summon it with Cyber Eternal. That is an important thing to keep in mind when playing this deck, but this card does come in handy for the combos that you guys will see in the test hands, because this card can actually revive back a copy of your Cyber Darkness Dragon after you summon out your copy of your Cyber Dark End Dragon, which is pretty good. And it also has the ability that if this card or if a Machine Cyber Fusion monster you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Overload Fusion because it lets us fusion summon a Dark Machine Fusion monster from our extra deck by banishing the materials from it on the field or in the graveyard, which is a great effect. We then play 2 copies of Power Bond. I think 2 copies is the best number for Cyber Dark. This card is really good because it's basically a polymerization, but when you activate it, you can send the materials from your hand or your side of the field, or if you use Chimera this turn and you have searched the Power Bond, you can actually use them from the graveyard as well, and it doubles the attack of the monster that you summon with this card's effect, but during the end phase, you take damage equal to that monster that you summon. So for example, if you summon your Cyber Darkness Dragon, you're going to take 2,000 points of damage, which is the normal card that you're going to be summoning with this card's effect, but that's not too big of a deal because it's only 2,000 life points. We then play 3 copies of Cyber Dark Realm. This is an insane searcher for the deck because when it's activated, you get to add a Cyber Dark monster from your deck to your hand with a different name from cards in your graveyard. And then during the main phase, you can immediately, after this card resolves, normal summon a Cyber Dark monster from your hand, which is a great effect just to summon out another Cyber Dark to your side of the field. Because if you normal summon out your copy of Core and then search this card from your deck, you can actually activate this, grab Chimera, normal summon the Chimera, discard a card from your hand that's a spell, add Power Bond, and then go in for your plays of link summoning them together for other cards. But there's a lot of plays in between that you're going to be doing to get additional Cyber Darks in the graveyard to make that Power Bond that you searched live. It also has a really neat effect that actually gives your Cyber Dark monsters that equip cards to them their anime effects. That has the ability that if you would equip a monster from your graveyard by the effect of a Cyber Dark monster that activated when it was normal or special summon, you can equip a card from your opponent's graveyard instead, which is a really neat effect. We then play 3 copies of Cybernetic Horizon, which actually counts as a Cyber Dark card always, which is a great effect because it actually is searchable off our Cyberdark Claw. It lets us send 2 dragon or machine cyber monsters with different attributes to the graveyard, 1 each from your hand and deck, to add a dragon or machine cyber monster from your deck to your hand, and if you do, you send a machine cyber fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and you can only activate 1 cybernetic horizon per turn, and you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this except for machines, which is not that big of a deal because when you activate this card, you're just trying to summon out your copy of your cyber Darkness Dragon. We then play 3 copies of Cyber Emergency. Cyber Emergency is really good in this deck as well because it lets you add your copies of your Cyber Dragon core from your deck to your hand. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Cyberdark Invasion. Cyberdark Invasion has the ability that you can once per turn activate one of the following effects: to target a Cyberdark effect monster that you control and equip a dragon or machine monster from either graveyard to it as an equipped spell that gives it 1,000 attack, or send an equipped spell you control to the graveyard equipped to a machine monster to destroy a card your opponent controls, which is a great effect for this card to be able to do because it pops cards. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. This card is a good hand trap in the deck to back up your copies of your Gamma. You can change this out for another card, but I thought it was fitting for this card to be in the deck because it came out of the structure deck, which makes the deck even more budget than it already is, and it's really helpful for the deck because it can stop your opponent's effect monsters. So that's it for the traps, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Cyberdark Dragon. You can actually summon this card very easily in this deck. It has the ability that it must be special summon, or must be fusion summon, or special summon by tributing a level 10 or lower Cyberdark fusion monster equipped with a Cyber Dragon, and it's unaffected by your opponent's activated effects. And then once per turn, you can equip 1 monster from your either player's graveyard to this card, and this card can make attacks up to the number of times each battle phase as a monster is equipped to it. So if it has 5 monsters equipped to it, it can attack like 6 times, 5-6 times, which is absolutely crazy. Usually you're going to get an additional attack on this card, which is really good. I love this card in this deck and is an insane boss monster. We then play 2 copies of Cyber Darkness Dragon. This card is very easy to summon in the deck. It actually has really insane summoning requirements, but it's easy to summon with combos that you guys will see in the test hands because it must first be fusion summoned, and if this card is special summon, then you can equip a dragon or machine monster from your graveyard to this card, which is a great effect because you can actually equip your copy of Cyber Dragon to this card and then tribute it to summon out your copy of Cyber Dark End. It also has the ability that it gains attack equal to the original attack of the monster equipped to this card by this effect. So if you summon it out with Power Bond, it'll go to 4,000, and then you equip your Cyber Dragon to this card, and it will go all the way up to 8,000. It also has the ability that when this card is equipped within a card and your opponent activates activates any effect, you can quick effect send an equipped card from your side of the field to the graveyard to negate the activation, and if you destroy that card, which is a great effect that you can send that equipped card from anywhere on your side of the field to then be able to negate a card effect. We then play a single copy of Cyber Dark Dragon. You rarely summon this card, and it's pretty much here to send to the graveyard off your copy of your Cybernetic Horizon. In some cases where you only have 4 of your Cyber Dark monsters at the end of your combo. We then play a single copy of Cyber Dragon, which I actually pulled recently. The misprint of this card where it actually has the silhouette of Cyber Dark End on this particular card. If you notice at the bottom, those actual like rubble, that is not on the original card, and you can even look at the wings and see it on this particular card where it actually doesn't have the silhouette of Cyber End. It's actually Cyber Dark End's wings that you can see on it, but this card is basically here because you're going to equip it to the Cyber Darkness Dragon to be able to go into your Cyber Dark End Dragon, and it has the ability that if this card battles, it inflicts piercing damage. We then play a single copy of Cyber Twin because you can OTK really easily with this card because it can attack twice. We play a single copy of Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon because this card can attack twice as well, which is really good by sending light machine monsters from your deck to the graveyard, and it has the ability that depending on the amount of Cyber Dragon monsters that you put into this card, it can destroy spells or traps on the field, which helps out this deck a lot just to destroy spells and traps that are on the field to give you those additional protections with not having to deal with them. We then play a single copy of Chimera Chimera Tech Mega Fleet. Chimera Tech Mega Fleet is here because you can link summon your opponent's monsters away. Basically, if they're in the extra monster zone, you can use your Cyber Dragon that's on the field with another monster in the extra monster zone to summon this card, which can be your opponent's cards, which is really good. One copy of a Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, just in case your opponent is playing Cyber Dragons against you. You can use this card very easily, or if your opponent's playing machines against you, you can use this card very easily to out their field. Play a single copy of Cyber Dragon Seeker. Seeker's really good because it can boost the attack of your monsters and it's super easy to summon. One copy of Verte Anaconda because you can use it with Overload Fusion. One copy of Protector Whelp because you actually use this card to send your copy of your Destruction Sword from the deck to the graveyard, which is super helpful for the deck. On summon, we play a single copy of Alamirage just in case you need it to send a copy of your Cyber Dragon Core to the graveyard or your copy of your Cyberdark Chimera, and a single copy of Cyframe Lord Omega, which is here to actually rip cards out of your opponent's hand when you successfully go in for the Gamma Driver combo. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck to play around with. Definitely be on the lookout for those test hands because the test hands are coming very soon for the giveaway for the 3 Cyber Strike structure deck. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.